Good afternoon, everybody. What is going on? What is going on? Yeah. All right. Yeah, it's been a very long week for me, so thank you guys for showing up. This is Dungeoneers Pack Live. I am Josh. Thank you guys for tuning in. Dungeoneers Pack Live is a weekly live stream where I go over and recap the latest news for D&D and then discuss topics to provide you guys insight, solutions, and my opinion to the problems you guys might have at the table. All right. Yeah, thank you guys. What's going on? You, David. What's up, Aaron? Yeah, thank you guys for showing up. This week I had a bit of a issue with my AC, so that kept me away from my computer. So as you can see, I'm back, and yeah. So unfortunately, there was no video for this Friday. But everything should resume back to normal with a new video coming out this coming Friday. And then a live stream also on Sunday. Not sure what it's going to be about. But again, thank you guys for being patient. And yeah, let's jump right into it. With this, we're going to go over some of the news. There isn't really too much happening this week on the D&D side of stuff. We'll talk about Party Cohesion, and then also just give you an update on what's to come for the channel, because you guys were paying attention to the community page. There was some stuff that I started posting and some votes and stuff to help me kind of get back into gear and really focus on what I want the channel to do, and also for the community that's been supporting the channel to make sure that you're getting the content you expected and you expected. So I'll go over what I'm going to be doing towards the end of the video. All right, so let's jump into the news. Pretty much, it's been really, really dry for D&D. Everything is gearing up for the July D&D live stream. That's going to be happening. They've been slowly announcing who's going to be a part of that, but other than that, there's really nothing much to it. The only big thing that I would say that got me excited, at least, I'm a big Eberron fan, and Keith Baker next week is releasing a Eberron / Ravenloft Van Ricken's Guide to Ravenloft crossover supplement, because the Van Ricken's Guide to Ravenloft had a hint or suggested a demiplane of dread for Eberron, and Keith Baker took it and ran with it. And then next week on July 13th, he will be releasing a supplement that caters to that little snippet that was in Van Ricken's Guide to Ravenloft. So the supplement is called Dead Metrol Into the Mist. So it's going to take you into the city of Metrol that is in the Mournlands. Here's some actual art. For those that don't know what the Mournlands is, this is a really, really broad. There's more nuance to what's going on, but the Mournlands is the nation of Seer or Sire, however you want to pronounce it. In Eberron, the nation of Sire was completely wiped off the map. Nobody knows who done it. Nobody knows what happened or what caused it. Or all they know is they were in the middle of this nationwide war, civil war, and then the war ended. Came to a halt when one entire nation was completely just wiped off. So it's this big cataclysmic event that happened to the nation of Seer. But what is alluded to is that some of the after effects of it caused it to potentially turn into a demiplane of dread. At least that's what Van Ricken's Guide to Ravenloft is. There is, I believe it's the lightning rail that pretty much you would board a ghost train that runs throughout the nation of Seer. And well, they're expanding it to now talk about a specific city, the city of Metrol, that is also now in the Mournlands. This apparently is the undisputed master of House Cannith. House Cannith is the Dragonmark house. Dragonmark houses are like these big bloodlines that are pretty much these big businesses, industrial businesses, that control different aspects of magic based off of some magic birthmark. Well, they originally had one. Each house has one leader. Unfortunately, the members of House Cannith have two, as they're vying for control over it. But the true leader apparently is there, and apparently he's a new kind of artificer. So there may, based off of just this art, there's potentially they're going to have a little artificer subclass by Keith Baker. And this is my assumption. It looks like it's a lot of body modifications, which is cool. That's a design space or a concept space that hasn't been messed with for the artificer. Balance wise, who knows what it's going to be, but concept-wise, that's pretty cool. Keith Baker also released Exploring Eberron, which did add a couple of other more Artificer subclasses. So they're going to continue doing that because Artificer is very subclass light officially. Some other art. The monsters of the mist aren't always the ones with the claws or snake hair. They could be the victims. So people are being transformed by whatever happened to the nation of Sire here. All right, and then some more art. And that's pretty much it. It's going to be interesting. I don't really know too much information offhand what to expect in the book. But as a big Eberron fan, I'm excited for this. Just most of the lore in Eberron is set to a certain point, and it's not expanded on. It's really left up to the players and the groups to really explain what truly happened, what was the cause of it. They give you a few plot threads to play with, but other than that, it's up to the group. This kind of takes it a different step to it. So since it's not official canon, Keith Baker canon, those that are already kind of running with this storyline can do whatever they want. But yeah, it's very interesting. All right, let's jump into the question of the week. That is all really there is for Eberron news or D&D news. There's nothing other than that. Magic the Gathering D&D Forgotten Realms set is officially been spoiled. There's a bunch of cool cards, a bunch of like nice little tie-ins. Next week or in a week or so, I don't remember the actual official release date, but expect a live stream to pop up where me and some of my buddies we're going to be playing the Commander decks and kind of just going through the cards and stuff. You guys are interested in that? I will be posting that soon. It should be actually pretty fun. Other than that, there's no other D&D news. So let's jump into the question of the week. So I asked up a little bit, what classes and subclasses make the best party composition? So my intention was to really just get down to what groups, what pair of classes, and what do you guys feel like is the best party makeup that builds party cohesion? That was what my intent was. But your guys' answers prove that my question wasn't clear enough. I really wanted to lead in and get into your guys' idea of what you guys felt built the best party, or what built a good group. So on the YouTube side of things, put up on my end. YouTube side of things, I got some really solid answers, some fun stuff, and I got some memes. I don't mind the memes; they're funny. Matthew Eagle said the best party is the one where they each get to decide. Then Troy Robinson, depending on the cleric, you can tank, DPS, support, sneak, heal. Diversity and divine domains makes it very every role could cover. So pretty much saying an all cleric team, and I've got a lot of answers like this when I get into the Discord and what you guys put in there. But yeah, there's a lot of like, we're just gonna play all the same. All right, Shane, hard to go with clerics, bards, and wizards. Just toss in a frontliner or two, and you're probably good. Whatever list of players have the most fun is the most important part. The whole thing is supposed to be about having fun, and there's the other approach to it. It's not the classes don't matter as long as the roles are filled and you guys are having fun. And then Kel Ubo said, nope, tough call, but it's got to be a party of all wizards. So, then I got a couple of like actual specific ones. Ancient's Paladin, Twilight Cleric, and Peace Cleric, Bard of Eloquence, and Arcane Trickster, and Ancestral Barbarian. So they're very specific classes. That party makeup is ridiculous. It has probably two of the most powerful cleric subclasses in the game at this point. And then yeah, some of these other ones, Arcane Trickster is actually really, really fun. And actually in the chat, let me know what you guys feel is the best party makeup or what builds a good cohesive team. Let me know there. Okay, Jeffrey's story. I agree with Ignacio. Your metrics matter. So some of the confusion of what the thing was posted, they wanted like parameters of what makes the best team. And I was going for a general, what you guys feel makes the best team. But people said it depends on what you want, you're aiming for. So if it's more for the best team to just for combat, they would have gave an answer there, but they said in general, the most diverse party. All right, let's take a look at the Discord. So this is where we got a lot of the memes. in the Discord. So what I got some pretty funny stuff. Gossipy Goblins, fellow content creator. He said all clerics, all assassin rogues. But he personally doesn't think there is a best. And then Linear said all fighters, or all bards, or all clerics, or all druids. All right. And then we keep going, but as we go on, you guys kind of see what's going on. Another content creator, Laughing Rock, came in, chimed in with his experience, and always welcome opinion. Pretty much saying best party composition is a double-edged sword. He's like, what exactly is it supposed to be the best for? Trying to make it so you guys can see the okay. Part of the pro. That will help. There we go. That's better. Good for you guys. Yeah. So best party is kind of like a double-edged sword. I feel the best party composition is one that doesn't min-max the abilities of each of the class to have the most effect totals for the game. After all, the characters don't have access to this information, make these decisions, and discrepancies that add serious situations for roleplay opportunities. And yeah, he is 100% right. When you guys are playing the game, I know optimizers and just in general, a lot of people just gravitate towards min-maxing, trying to make the best series of character decisions and take the best abilities to try to essentially make sure all your bases are covered, always dominate combat or dominate a situation. But he is really right about this specifically. The players do not have access to the actual given information, so min-maxing might be futile. Hey, what's going on, Rich? Thank you for stopping by. But yeah, that was like the big thing. Like as a player, you don't have access to all the information, so you can min-max all you want, but the DM can change things at the drop of a hat. So it's not that you should not min-max if you're into that, but you're not always going to be in control of that situation. And then he goes on from a DM perspective. What's going on, Cosmo? Thank you for stopping by. He says, DM's experience. I have always played under the rule that anything the players do, NPCs can also do. I've had players who have optimized their characters with other players based on stats. They thought it was great fun tearing through the NPCs of the game until they met another group that was highly optimized that tore through the group because they got mad at each other for how the adventure went down. They had separated themselves a bit when the other group was hired to kill them, so that person who hired them didn't have to pay. Needless to say, players were upset that characters went down and others ran. And he continues to go on about the experience, but that's another thing. The DM is always in control of the situation. So regardless if you min-max or you're trying to build the best party based off of just mechanics, it might not always happen. The DM has the ability to pretty much level the playing field and balance the min-maxing part out. So but that again, there's some caveats, there's some nuance because it does take an experienced DM to understand the mechanics of the game to do this. So for inexperienced DMs, you might get one up on them. Let's see in the chat. David, he's my buddy, and he's also in my Avernus game. He's playing a wizard, and he's actually he's discussing what's going on in our game. So what we currently have going on with our Avernus party is good. We always have a good cop, bad cop makeup, a 1 to 2 chaotic players who can sometimes, without reason, come cone of fire anyone in range. Cosmo said min-maxing is best in video games, honestly, and that is true. And I'll go into the difference in a bit of like when I discuss party roles for Party Cohesion. All right, and then Rock goes on. And I really want to cover like what he says because a lot of this rings true, and it just hits home on some of my philosophy on like approaching building a solid party with your friends. I don't think party cohesion is based on classes. I feel it's based on playstyle. Munchkins are pretty much frowned upon, but if you're a group together, then it's completely fine. power gaming is a thing. If that's how they want to play, then that's fine. I played a campaign where I made 9 levels in a 11th session. I was completely bored with the game. It's not my style. It feels like the levels were just given to me. I did not earn them. If you take a class on group dynamics, which is usually required for managers, you will learn that 5 stages of group development: forming, storming, norming, performing, adjourning. Group cohesion is best when players understand the other player's point of view. One of the biggest problems I see in players being upset is when it comes to character death. In case of the group cohesion is when the party group wants to fight on a suicide fight, and part of the group wants to run, and the two don't understand the other's point of view. Neither is right or wrong, but the players have to be okay with other players' choices and leave them to their devices. I'm going to touch on this big time because party cohesion is also the out of character experience. So we're going to talk about it. And again, thank you, Vrock. You've been missed on the Discord. I'm glad to have you back and in there. Always with awesome advice and opinions that always spark conversation. So thank you for that. And then the last one I'm going to go over is Ebrav, one of the newer members of the Discord. And again, if you guys aren't in the Discord, it's getting fairly active here and there. We post. I try to post weekly things. But and especially the question of the week, if you don't post on the community page, you guys can go in there and post your answer in there. And there's general character building and character concept discussion that's going on, or DM help, especially like Rock and some of the other guys that are DM heavy. They're going in there and they're answering stuff for questions you guys have. So go ahead and join the Discord. Links in the description. All right, Ebrav said, regarding the question, no clue, but probably cleric and paladins, maybe clockwork or divine soul sorcerer. A wizard for utility, bards, divine soul to help out with clerics. Druid's wild shape is useful as hell when you're not being a moon druid, and useful as in not just for combat. But aside from that, she says she's not really sure. And they go into talking about, one of filling roles for the party, which touches on another thing about filling certain character roles and out of party roles. So it goes on and gives context to what kind of group makeups that make solid stuff. But other than that, let's jump back. Let's jump into the topic. They touched on a lot of stuff, and again, thank you guys for your answers. You can expect questions of the week to pop up at least Tuesdays, the latest, every week. And if you guys want your answers shown here on the streams, just leave a comment on the community page when it pops up there, or if you're in the Discord, pop up on there. All right, so let's get into it. Let's go into it. So we're gonna go talk about party cohesion. So there's 2 things about party cohesion you guys need to actually consider. There's the out of character experience that plays a role in what you're supposed to plays a role in how you're going to act in character. You can't separate your character and you as a person, because you as a person are the one controlling your character, and sometimes that slips, and that's okay. And depending on how you approach role playing, too, is what will determine that. Some people approach character as more of a self-insert. It's a lot of them, and that's them, an idealized version of them in the game. And then there's other players that it's the mechanic. They're just playing a mechanic. And there's players that are playing a separate character outside of themselves and are completely invested in being that character. There's no wrong way to play, as long as your group knows how you're approaching the game and playing it and are okay with it. You guys are fine. So, but the big part of cohesion out of character. So, number 1, build your guys' social contract. These are the rules of engagement and the agreements that your group has to understand what lines they can cross, what kind of stuff that they're going to be allowed to do, and what's going to be generally okay. Every group's social contract is vastly different. I think that's part of causing a lot of the big discussion and issue with D&D as a whole right now. Every group has a different social contract, but at the same time, some people want to impose their social contract onto people that are not even in their group because they want their game to be played a certain way. And then there's those that do want actual changes, but it's not so much they need it at your table. They just they want those changes available for those that want those to be implemented in the game to be supported. Okay, but building the social contract can mean a lot of things. Obviously, the big thing that's come up a lot, even more recently, but with this new wave of 5th edition and being more socially aware and socially conscious of how certain things are affecting players, is providing safety tools. People have general life experiences that do cause trauma. And having safety tools in place, you don't always have to use them. My group doesn't use them. But for other groups, especially you're playing with people you're not familiar with, this having those tools in place helps prevent issues from coming up, and it's easier way to discuss stuff or to ensure that issues will not come up if you have safety tools in place. There's a variety of them online. Thank you, Cosmo. There's a variety of these online, and there's different ways to implement them. But it's one of those things that you should consider. It's really, especially if you're playing with people that you're not used to playing with, or you don't play with on a regular basis, or you don't know them on a certain level. And even then, players that you know, like if my group decided, hey, like, can we implement safety tools? I'd be 100% fine with it. I know these guys pretty much most of my life, and I would still implement them. So they're a good way to do it. You don't always need them, but it's a good way to address situations if communication isn't going to be clear, or you guys want the stuff to be very discreet. The reason you need a social contract, though, it's to understand each other's boundaries and set boundaries for the game, and also set conflict resolution. Our group has developed a social contract, but not necessarily stating it outright, but necessarily building it over time as we've continued to play D&D and other games like Magic the Gathering. For those that play Magic the Gathering, you've probably heard this term in Commander, because Commander groups also have to build a social contract, and it's more discreet and very specific in that game because of how the rules and the competition aspect of the game work. But for D&D, understanding each other's boundaries and setting limits and knowing what rules you're playing with helps build cohesion, because everybody's going to be on the same page. And this isn't necessarily also just about like social things or certain topics are off limits. This can just literally be talking about setting up house rules, just basic house rules, like our house rule for our game when we do criticals is different than other players. It's even stuff like that. It's like people just understanding like how you guys are going to run the game, how you guys prefer to run the game. If it's going to be more roleplay heavy, that's also stuff that you set up with the social contract and your guys' rules of engagement. Always, it's being conscious of that. You guys might not even know you guys have rules or social contracts in your group already built. You guys are just used to playing a certain way. Pretty much, you guys have developed a social contract without actually talking about it. Those things build over time, but with new groups, I recommend talking about it. And that leads me to the next thing. Communication. This is a very hard one to do. Not everybody is talented or trained or understands effective communication. There's a reason why people go to school for it. It can be a hard thing to do, especially when you're trying to resolve conflict. But it is something that needs to happen. If there's something hard that goes down or something that doesn't rub you the right way, it's just something happened or it makes the game unfun for you. You do need to discuss it. You need to discuss it with your group, talk with your DM, really figure out what's going on. But obviously, bit of advice: if you're one that's quick to anger, you get frustrated with something and you immediately just get upset. Take some time to cool off, step back, assess the situation. Really, take a couple days if you need to. There's no amount of time until you really can figure out the thing that's upsetting you, and you can talk about it in a constructive manner. Part of communication is talking about in a constructive manner to so that the person you're talking to, if it's a person that you're having a problem with specifically, or if it's a situation that, say, for example, the DM brings up, and then you just didn't like how it went down, you can step back, assess it, and then talk to them in a way that is not attacking them, or that the person's not going to feel on that they're being attacked, so they put on the defensive. As soon as you put somebody on the defensive when you're talking to them, there's no communication. You're most likely going to be talking to a wall. So part of communicating is knowing how to address and critique that without actually offending somebody. So this is like one whole topic. You can be its own thing. Thank you, Simon Tucker, for the sub. Thank you. But yeah, communication. try to be as respectful and thoughtful. If you need to take time away from the group at times to cool off and then really address what's going on, do it. I highly recommend it. Luckily, my group, I'm spoiled with my group where that doesn't really come up. Where there's a straight up issue, where we have to communicate what's going on. It's only in earlier games where we just didn't have an understanding of what's going on, that came up. But other than that, which brings me to expectations. Part of the reason why my group got frustrated with certain things is that we didn't set expectations of what we wanted out of the game. So this is a little bit different than building a social contract, but it also plays into communication. Set your groups, set the expectations for that game. One example is when my group was playing the Ravnica game. The group as a whole, expected it to be this big level 1 to 20 adventure where we're going to be playing in our favorite Magic the Gathering setting and doing stuff in the city with our guilds and just building these relationships. My DM, on the other hand, wanted a level 1 to 10 campaign, something short, nothing too big. He didn't want. It's not that he didn't want to invest time to build this big story. It was just more so he was just more comfortable playing within this 1 to 10 level range and having one short cohesive story, and not something that was continuing on. He was juggling a lot of different games at the time, so like that's just one of the things we didn't understand. That it did frustrate us. But when it came to our next game, we knew, set the expectations. What are we going to get out of this game? What are we going to be playing, and what exactly levels and stuff? So we kind of know going into it what kind of character we can bring, and what we should develop, and then play with some of our social contract to accommodate some of it. But yeah, your group needs to set expectations and that just helps set the playing field about what you're going to do when you approach the game. And all right, so this brings me down. Actually, and then before I get out of, what are some other stuff that you guys for out of character party cohesion? What are some other things that you guys do? That's what I want to know. Because obviously these are just like my quick 3 tips for you guys, but obviously there's a lot more that can probably go on building out of character party cohesion, pretty much person to person. That I'm going to talk about also. This is a big one. I know a lot of people are probably more concerned with this and wanting to know how to build mechanics and using mechanics and kind of building like these juggernaut parties that are all good. But in character is not so much about the mechanics. In character party cohesion's a lot. I view it a lot different. I view D&D and party games a lot, especially D&D and tabletop games. You're building a story. So the first one is, what's the concept of your character? This matters because in my point of view, you guys are pretty much playing a movie in a sense. You guys need characters that fill specific roles in this movie, in this cast, that are going to have their time to shine, but they're conceptually don't overlap. They are a whole separate person. This doesn't mean that 2 players can't play the same class. What it means is, if I have a swashbuckler rogue that is a scoundrel, that is a Han Solo, and then I have on the team Batman, who is an assassin rogue, conceptually they're 2 different characters and they have 2 different ways, even if they have the same class, but they both fit in the party because they operate differently. That's what I mean by characters. What's the concept? What is your character so that they're different? And this matters for a story when you're DM. And this is for story-driven games, mind you. It matters because it allows the DM to set up stories and they have their time to shine, and they operate differently. On a mechanical level, what helps fuel this story? On a mechanical level, your character is going to be doing different things. And I'll go into that in a bit when I go down to number 3 on what's your party role. But that's what that leads into. But yeah, what's your character story? You don't want your character to play in same conceptual spaces as another one, because your characters are going to be doing the same exact thing, and it's just going to feel very samey, and your character's not going to feel special. You're not going to have that good experience if you guys have very similar conceptual spaces. For example, in my group's Eberron game, I had like 3 different characters I wanted to bring to the party, and I settled on one. And it was I normally don't play these dark broody characters, but for this game it just fit. Um, and then my brother pitched me his character, and it was in the same space. So instead of both of us bringing the same character, because which oftentimes groups kind of just don't discuss their characters, I let my brother bring that character to that game, and I shelved that guy, and I brought in somebody that was pretty much a counterpoint to his character. That one of the ones I've already had established that was a little bit more lighter and a little bit more group oriented, or attempted to be group oriented. It was more of a good guy, but that's one of those things. It was a conscious decision on my part not bring my dark brooding character because the group doesn't need 2 dark brooding Batman characters. Batman's cool, but on a conceptual level, you don't need the dark brooding guy that's gonna be Batman. Like you don't want that in your party. You want the one guy to be I'm Batman, and then you want the other guy to be Superman. That's pretty much how I looked at it. It's like they need to be counterpoints. They need to be somebody that can help promote the other character and help push each other forward. So that's when I think of what's your character concept and its role in the party. That's when that's what I think is would help. Building a character concept that is vastly different. That'll help promote yourself and each other, and each get a spot in the story. The next thing is when you're building your character and you're playing your character, you're going to be playing facing the party. I've had this conversation with a couple of my party members already in my current game. What I mean by building towards the party, it goes into the concept and it goes into your role. You're building your character to fit a specific niche in the group, but you're also going to be playing towards the party, meaning like the intention is if you're trying to build party cohesion, there's a lot of discussion about playing to character, which is 100% valid. But sometimes when you play to character and you play your character too much to character, you're going to realize that they go against the party. And while that is great, if the goal is party cohesion, that actually works against you if constantly your character if you're playing in character and it makes sense that your character would do these things, but it's constantly at the detriment of the party and it always working against the party. That ultimately will outcast your character, and to some extent in your party and out of character may frustrate your players, and they might not want to play with you if you're constantly bringing characters that are doing that at the same time. So the big thing is when you're building your character and you're going to play your character, make sure that they want to be in the game, like they want to be with the group. That's the biggest thing. They're there to be in the party, playing with the party. There's a lot of like lone wolf characters that come up. They are the edgelordy, your hexblade warlock, your dark rangers, dark fighter, dark knights. Those characters are cool. Your assassin rogues, but the ultimate goal, this is a party oriented game. This is a group game. Your character needs to want to be in the party. They want to work in a group. It's one thing to roleplay a character that is a social outcast and isn't used to being in a group, which is a perfectly valid character to bring. But that means the character arc is this character learning to be a part of a group and learning how to be in a family, right? The biggest example more recently was in Critical Role Season 2. The character Caleb, he's a wizard, but he didn't trust the group at first, and it was very hard for him to be a part of the party, and that his whole progression was finding a family with them. And that's kind of the angle you play those sort of characters. You can play those characters. But that's the big thing. Build your character in a way that they, personality-wise, that they need to be. They want to be part of the party, and then they're going to be using their mechanics to help the party. The end goal is to help the group. It's not that you can't have inter-party conflict either. That's not what I'm necessarily saying. But ultimately, the group will always come to consensus on characters are going to come to understand and respect each other, that to survive, it's for the group. Right now, we have, in my Avernus game, I have 2 characters that are both party faces, but they act on opposite ends of the spectrum. I have a dwarf named Jeb. He's a bard, and then I have Cryostis, a tiefling warlock. The warlock tiefling is a bit of a D-bag. and my Jeb is a bit more social and a bit more goal oriented, and is trying to do the best thing for the group. Normally, they butt heads, but ultimately they discuss and they realize to use their abilities to talk to people in different ways that help benefit the party. Doesn't always succeed, but it's the thing is like their whole goal is to survive and figure out what the heck is going on in our Avernus game. So, but that's one of those things, like you can have two opposing forces and they can have conflict on how to resolve the issue. But ultimately, their goal will align as they want to resolve the issue. They just don't know how to properly go about it. And that those are in character things. It's not the out of character things. The both players joke and laugh about everything that goes on all the time. And I want to get to the last one. Hey, what's going on, Steely? Thank you for stopping by. So we're gonna go to the last one. This is the mechanical aspect of party cohesion. What's your character's role in the party? I have a video on this, character roles. And I broken them down. There's two roles that your characters and classes always occupy, based off your class and subclass, in part or out of combat and in combat. And I broke it down to super simple, but you can diversify them even more. But what's your character's role in combat and out of combat? Are they a frontliner? Are they a striker? So frontliner, you're the pretty much the D&D equivalent of a tank, but without necessarily all the tanking abilities you'd expect from an MMO. You're a striker. You're like a rogue or a monk. You're in and out of combat, melee, just coming in, coming out. You're a little bit more flimsy, but you can. Your general role is to take out one of the targets immediately. Then you have the blaster, which it's your range damage dealer, and then you have your support, which is pretty much most spellcasters that can do any sort of crowd control, healing sort of spells, or support or buff and debuff spells. That's pretty much what your support is. The reason I lump all those together is because, in general, most of the people that can do crowd control also have access to healing and buff and debuff spells. They all kind of do all those together. All right. And then there's the out of party. What your character does out of combat stuff. What your character does out of combat. You have the scout. You have the party muscle, which is normally your frontliners tend to be this. They're the strong guys. They're able to do physical challenges. Obviously, the scout is your dungeoneering person. They go and look around. Yes, David, you're a wizard caster who thinks he's a tank. Terrible. And then we have your troubleshooter. All right, your troubleshooter is your magic or your skill-based problem solver. These guys are the ones that are going after puzzles, environmental challenges, etc. This one could probably be split up to multiple if you want to like be more specific. But in general, these are the ones that use their skills in their troubleshooters. The ones that use their skills, tools, or spells to overcome most other challenges that are not social and are mainly like obstacles that are in the way. Then there is the face, and obviously this is the character that solves all social challenges. They're the ones that are negotiating, persuading, or deceiving NPCs. It's just different ways to interact with the game. I broke them down to those four, and normally classes and also with subclasses are a combination of one or two in combat, and normally one out of combat role. Kind of everything mix and matches to build your character. When you're building your character, that's the one thing you need to be conscious of. Right now, I have 3 tanks. I have 3 frontliners in my party. But luckily, on a conceptual level, they all are different. And on a mechanical level, they all operate differently and do different things. But it is a little detriment to the party. But that's one of the things they know their role. They are the wall. They know that nobody passes them. They're not letting anybody pass them. This helps out since it is a bigger party. I have a lot of squishier guys that like to sit in the back, so it helps out. But that's one of those things. Knowing your role, knowing what they're going to do, in and out of combat will help build your party cohesion because you're going to have your chance to shine. You're going to be able to do the thing. If your DM lets you from time to time do the thing, you're gonna do your cool, like you're a pole arm sentinel fighter. You're gonna be the guy that locks down the area around you, not letting anybody move. You will get chances to do the thing. But if you have another pole arm sentinel fighter in your party, one of you guys is only going to be able to do the thing, and none of you guys will be able to shine. That's really what it is. Right now we have a rogue. We only have one rogue, one trap buster, one guy that can actually solve. That's really the party troubleshooter for Dungeoneering and scouting. There's only one, but she gets to shine every time because that's his role. When we play with the bigger party, and caveat when it comes to knowing your role, bigger parties you need to dial in more on a single role or on single roles. In a smaller party of like 3 to 4 people, it's easier to branch out and do more, cover more ground. So just consider that. If you're in a big party of like 5 and up, find a way to just single in on a role. You don't want to overlap too much with your other party members because you need to give them time to shine also. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. On a conceptual or on a mechanical level, when it comes to knowing your role, this is where Cosmo brought this up earlier about min-maxing, how it is in video games. Min-maxing works when knowing your role. In video games a lot more because it's you versus an AI, and you can crunch the numbers at that point. And yeah, you want the best possible outcome for that. So min-maxing makes sense. You're gonna find the build, and you're gonna find all the abilities that lets you do the thing because everything is static. You know what the enemy in this dungeon you're gonna run in like say Warcraft, you know what they're gonna do, you know what abilities you need to go to mitigate damage, whatever your role is. You're always gonna look for the most optimum option. Min-maxing works in that favor. In D&D, that's not so much because everything's dependent on a person, a DM, and depending on their DM style, 100% change everything. The best thing is like, well, min-maxing will help you overcome a lot of these challenges, and make it easier for you. It's not necessarily going to be the case all the time because the DM could just buff everything to accommodate for it. So in reality, it's not so much about min-maxing and trying to do the best and be effective and find the most efficient options all the time when you're playing your role. It's literally just making sure you have options to do it, whether you're optimized for it or you're not optimized, but you're still fulfilling the role. You're still doing your job. As long as you can complete the job, whether it's optimized or not, and that's like on the mechanical level, you're fine. For me, it's like it's a big thing. Don't let anybody else tell you anything different. There's people that'll argue that there is really no tanks and there's no this, no that, and there is to an extent. I would go deeper into like roles. My suggestion: just go and find my party role video that goes over the differences between a video game version of these roles and the D&D version of how they translate. So yeah. And the last thing, it's not on here, but this is a bit of advice. If your character doesn't fit the party, talk with your DM, talk with your group, explain to them why the character isn't working. Might be on a mechanical level where the character doesn't have a chance to shine, and you're just not having fun with it, or conceptually, your character is continually butting heads, party, and it's not, and then it becomes unfun for you. Ultimately, the game is about having fun with your friends, playing, telling a story. If your character's not letting you do that, and you talk with your DM, and your DM is willing, go ahead and change your character. Bring somebody that works with the party that wants to be cohesive. I've done this multiple times. I've talked with my group. In our Eberron game, the character I brought wasn't a scoundrel. He was more of a heroic person, and he was in a group of thieves and pirates. Some of the decisions they made did not sit well with that character, and he was going to start. I knew over time he would be problematic and start getting in the way of people just doing what they're used to. And if the whole group is doing this, well, you're going to be the odd man out and put you at odds, and your character's just not going to have a good time. And on a mechanical level, the character wasn't performing how I wanted them to do at the same time. So I talked to my DM and I asked him, can I just bring in somebody else that will, personality, character-wise, and conceptually fits with the party? We'll still have a story that can propel forward, and at the same time, there won't be conflict. So, and then, yeah. But that's one of those things. Don't keep yourself in a character that you're not having fun with. If your DM has plans, and that could be one of those things, your DM might have plans for the character. It might not be fun now for that character, but he has plans to bring it, talk to them, and then they may bring that up. It's like, no, I like your character for X or Y reason, and then that might kick some joy back in your character. But at the same time, at the end of the day, you're not having fun, and it's not even fun for your players and your other players in your game with that character. Change them. Again, had this happen with our Avernus game. One of our buddies had just joined in. He brought in a druid, but she just didn't fit with the party. The Not that the partiers are scoundrels or anything, but these they weren't as altruistic, and since they're dealing with shades of gray of these characters, she was more altruistic and she just didn't fit. So he brought in a rogue that fit with the party. All right. So again, and yeah, that is my tips for party cohesion. I may do a video on this later. That's a lot, not as much jumbled, but more concise, and may be able to add more tips on to you guys. Again, thank you guys for showing up for this. But yeah, this is my general review and mindset when it comes to building a party cohesiveness. It's not mechanic driven. I do have a mechanic driven video where you can build building mechanical party cohesion and just like getting one ups on people. There's a video for team tactics. It's a series I'm going to continue on the channel that every so often that goes over how a group together on a mechanical level can manipulate the dice. So if that's what you're wanting more out of party cohesion of like mechanical stuff, keep a lookout for those videos. I'm going to be doing more of those. But oh, thank you, Cosmo. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. But yeah, this is my general approach. It's more going to be story driven, more role play based, and that's in general how I want to approach the channel. Which reminds me, before we go, again, thank you guys for voting on the community page on stuff on what you guys wanted to see for the channel. I got to take a forced break because my AC was down. That let me really take a hard look at the channel on what I want to do going forward, and also look at the analytics and seeing what I wanted to do and what things were trending. I was spending way too much time chasing hot topics or trying to be up to date and current and talking about UAs and stuff like that. But UAs in general do actually pretty poor on the channel, and then trying to keep up with other channels that are just constantly doing news. At the speed I produce content for you guys, cannot keep up with that. So what does that mean? In general, when all the talk, like the new hot topics UAs, they're going to be left for these streams. I'm going to talk about them on these streams instead. And then when they come to like full release on books and stuff, that's when I'll start actually doing full coverage of like official content. But what does that mean for you guys wanted to see more class coverages and player options, and me talking about reflaring them and how to fit them in different settings? So there's going to be more of that. And I'm going to revisit some older classes that I haven't talked about. Lately, I've just been talking about whatever new was coming out. But also that means I'm going to put my coverage of Strixhaven on the back burner a little bit until it officially releases. Other than that, there's going to be more character builds. You guys love them. I do enjoy making them. But again, as with my channel being more roleplay focused, I'm going to double down on that and just bring more of a fun character concept and how to make it viable for a game and not necessarily optimize. I'm gonna go. I have to change my wording a bit, but yeah, I want them to be viable. I don't care if they're optimized. Optimizing is cool, but I want the character to be viable to fulfill the role they're gonna do, and then use as this was more about the roleplay cohesion, mechanical cohesion. I can do. I'm gonna do more as time goes on in the team tactics videos. And that brings me to the other point. I've only done one of them. I don't know how well they do in the algorithm or on the channel. But those that did watch it enjoyed them. I'm going to do more of those, and that will go into the more mechanical cohesion and how to mix party mechanics together to get one-ups. Okay, party getting along. Okay, so I did talk about this earlier. It really comes down to building a social contract. So once you see the VOD, I would say go back. If this was part of the things I did cover what you guys should be doing to pretty much avoid party discussion problems. Again, I will probably be visiting this as a proper video and going over all these things again in probably more detail, in a more clear, concise manner, pretty graphics. And that brings me to another thing you guys are going to see. You're going to see more videos on this. These are doing fairly well on the channel. I will be covering more of these kind of player topics a lot more on the channel. Hey, no problem. No problem. It happens. Other than that, yeah, you're just going to see more of what I'm already doing. It just won't necessarily always be about like the new hot thing. I'm going to let like UAs and like newsworthy topics be the discussion on a lot of the lives. So if a new UA comes out, expect it to be covered on that weekend. And then we'll talk about it. I'll probably put a question of the week up. Other than that, I'm going to try to do more community-oriented stuff. So we already have question of the week going up on the community page and the Discord and the Instagram. I'm also going to be starting a character build challenges per week. So expect to see a post maybe like towards the end of the week, maybe Thursday, I'm trying to say, of like, I'm just going to put a character concept up on the community page, the Discord, and the Instagram. And you guys just leave how you think how this character should be built. And it'll be shared here on the stream. So that's my goal. Eventually, I would like to give prizes and stuff for this kind of stuff, but for the time being, it's just going to be participation points. Sorry. Other than that, yeah, expect more of what I'm doing, me doubling down. And again, thank you guys for continuing supporting the channel. It helped me this week away, help kick my butt back into gear and really get excited about doing content. Doing stuff week to week can burn you out. Especially when you're hard, like myself, I'm hard on myself on how I approach and want to build the best thing for you guys to consume as content and entertainment. But also, I want to be thoughtful and actually help you guys learn something or apply stuff to the game, or inspire or give you guys a little bit of inspiration to make certain characters that you guys may not have considered. So that's what I try to do with my character builds. My class coverage. I'm going to start going over more player options. The feat videos are doing amazing on the channel, so expect me to cover more feat and how to apply them to your character and use them for roleplay, as well as just general analysis of the ability. But yeah, other than that, again, thank you guys for supporting. Thank you. Until next week. You can check me out on all the socials. You can support the channel on Patreon, Dungeoneer's Pack on Patreon. You can support the channel directly here and get a subscription or a I forgot the word for the YouTube does it. Pretty much pretty much like a subscription here also. But that's if you're willing to pay. You don't have to. Always support the channel by commenting, and subscribing on every video, and just sharing with other people. It really helps out the channel, putting it out into the algorithm. Catch me on Dungeoneer's Pack YT on Facebook, Dungeoneer's Pack on Instagram, and DPackYT on Twitter. And you guys are more than welcome to join the Discord and talk in there and talk more about what we talked about in this chat or anything that happens within D&D 5th edition. Okay, till next time, guys. Thank you, and you guys have a good one. I will see you later. Expect a video back this Friday. It will be a character build of something that I've been recently enjoying. So, see you guys till then.